Warning, the ShekelUp Podcast is a podcast created by two ex-degenerates that think they know sports gambling and spent their younger days breaking bookies and never hedging. We are not experts on anything, and everything we say should be taken with a grain of salt. We do not condone illegal sports gambling, and all gambling should be done responsibly. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ShekelUp Podcast. And it is a special draft episode, ShekelUp Podcast, where we will draft the entire first round for you here on the podcast and get the entire podcast thoughts on the draft. It's always a fun exercise to do. We did it last year, got a lot of good things out of it, except it was just me and Andrew last year. And so that's a lot of picks just for two guys to break down. And I'm glad I got a couple of guys here with me from the Made on Ridgeway Sports Podcast. Go ahead and introduce yourself, fellas.
K-Mac. If you know, you know. Let's go, man. Been waiting a long time for the draft, and it's an exciting time, so let's get this thing rolling.
All right.
Oh, yeah, Hunter Keister back here. Draft coverage. Excited to get into it. Excited to see what these two think about these 32 overall picks in the first round. And I think it'll be really interesting. A lot of different choices, and let's get into it.
All right. So, off air here, before we started recording, we did a little bit of the lottery pick here, and I ended up taking the first pick. I wasn't rigged.
Surprise,
I swear.
surprise.
Hunter's got the second pick, and Kurt's got the third pick, and we're gonna draft like it would be by round. So it'll be me, Kurt, or me, Hunter, Kurt, and then me, Hunter, Kurt. So we're not doing the snake style draft or anything like that. We're just gonna go off of those picks because they're all gonna be different teams anyway. So it really doesn't matter, you know. But yeah, let's get right into it. The Bears got the first pick, and it's Caleb Williams this and Caleb Williams that. My question is Caleb Williams is, you know, a good quarterback. Spectacular, nothing special. In my eyes, I really don't think he's going to do all that well in the NFL. The question really is, the value pick here is Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison could make a mediocre quarterback look good, in my opinion. The better player is Marvin Harrison. I think he's even the top-ranked player in the draft out of everyone when it comes to the experts. So I ask you guys, the consensus pick for most people is going to be Caleb Williams because the Bears would not trade up just for Marvin Harrison, right? It would have to be to go get their QB of the future. But is there an argument for Marvin Harrison here?
There was before. I think there was before Justin Fields got traded. There's a chance that you go and get him because I do agree with you. I think that I agree with that statement 100% and the fact that he can make an average quarterback at least look good, if not great, with just the way that he can go get a football and how good he is at just that alone. But I think that while I could see that in some scenario, like I said, I think they would have to have Justin Fields, and now they've left themselves in a spot where they really have no other option than to take Caleb Williams here at 1, unless you want to wait to 8 overall and take your choice at who's left over the last remaining couple after the first 3 or 4 go off the board in the first 5 picks. That puts you in a really interesting spot. So.
And that was my thing, Hunter. They're picking at 9. Now, we talked about this on the last episode about J.J. McCarthy going to the Saints. I said it. You said he's going sooner. He'll be there at 9 if the Bears take Marvin. And you're going to tell me J.J. McCarthy and Marvin Harrison wouldn't light it up a little bit next year together?
That'd be something.
See, I'm not trying to. They don't pay me to be GM, but that sounds a lot better than just grabbing Caleb Williams and then grabbing like Rome or something.
Rome, yeah, exactly. That's what it sounds like now. Exactly. Yep, I agree. I don't blame you. That's a solid take. Kurt, what do you think on that? What do you hear?
About,
Kurt,
in all reality,
what you think about
prior to the Justin Field trade, that's what I would have done. I would have kept Fields, draft Marvin Harrison, and actually give the guy, a team around him, and then maybe at 9 you look to offensive line. But that's what you needed. But pretty much that trade cemented you would take a quarterback, whoever you believe to be the best guy, which it sounds like it's Caleb Williams. Everyone has a different opinion. I personally think Caleb Williams, in my opinion, has the highest ceiling, but has also the lowest floor in that he gives me Johnny Manziel vibes with the whole play, extending the play, trying to do too much, trying to, get the highlight reel, and that style of play does not translate. The NFL, offensively, it's about structure, playing in rhythm. Certain quarterbacks have that second act instinct of, when the play breaks down, they can play backyard football and do that. And I think he has a little bit of that, but I think the problem was just he tried doing that too often. And the NFL will get the defenders in the NFL are different than college. And it's fine to take the check down. It's fine to take the hitch route, but he's gonna learn. He's gonna have to adjust. And you could definitely make the case Marvin Harrison should have gone there, but with taking Fields and sending him, out east to Pittsburgh, they will take Caleb Williams probably number 1. And maybe he'll succeed, but with quarterbacks, it's just been shown if you're not in the right situation, the right place, you're probably not going to work out right. So.
Yeah, and I'm putting out here in the universe right now that people watch out for it. Because if I'm thinking about it, a multi-million-dollar GM's got to be thinking about it. Like, is Caleb Williams far and above every other quarterback in this draft? Because Marvin Harrison is far and above. Yeah. But I know Marvin Harrison is far and above every player, not just receivers, in this draft. Is Caleb Williams worth giving that up? Or can you settle on a Drake May that may fall? Or can you settle on a J.J. McCarthy for that player? But unfortunately, Bears fans, your organization has a history of not doing well, not drafting well. It's just other than a defense in the 80s, 40 years ago. Yep. So I'm going to say
when
that
you think about the Bears
over
drafting,
Mahomes and Watson.
Yeah.
When you think about the Bears drafting and just how bad it's been, I think right. You just got to think like they're not making the smart Marvin Harrison pick. They're going to see the bells and whistles on Caleb. They got rid of Justin. Caleb, I don't even think Caleb went anywhere else for any pre-draft visits or anything like that. I would be shocked if Chicago's not the place for him here.
And it's
all
unfortunate.
Right, Tony, let's hear.
The pick is in. And the number 1 pick for the Bears is Caleb Williams. That's what they're going to do. That's what I believe they're going to do. And it's not a bad pick. You need a quarterback. It's just, I don't think he's far and above the other quarterbacks to where you let Marvin Harrison skate out of there. And I hope for the Bears' sake I'm wrong. And now, Hunter is on the clock with the Commanders.
Absolutely. We're going to the Commanders. And this pick is it's a quarterback for me. I think Washington's got to build somewhere. They haven't gotten it right. Fired coach after fired coach. And I think the Commanders are looking to try to head into another rebuild into the right direction with a new face of the franchise. So it's definitely quarterback. This one's really simple for me. I don't think Marvin will be in play here. I mean, I think that it also could be another smart play, but Washington doesn't have the luxury of multiple picks. Am I correct on that? I don't believe they have multiple picks. So
they
have to try to work back.
No, not in this round.
They have to try to work back in the first round. So I think they just solidify their quarterback. My number 2 quarterback on this board, and who I think will go to the Commanders, is LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels.
Okay. Well, thanks for reading my text message. Jayden Daniels is probably where I would go. Although I do like Drake May. See, the thing with Drake May is that I really like is that he's big. He's 6'4", 230 pounds. Oh, 210. Yeah. Am I got that right? Yeah, 230 pounds, I think, is where I got that. But it's like Carson Wentz vibes a little bit. Like he's got really raw talent that needs to be developed. He's got size. He can throw the ball a mile. That's my only thing. It would be really hard. So I'm glad I didn't have to choose between that myself. But yeah, I mean, there's not much. The Commanders. I mean, you get rid of the kid from last year that they had, and they really need an entire team. I mean, they got no receivers, they got no quarterback. Their defense is okay, and they got a new owner on top of that. So,
entire rebuild.
They're really starting from scratch.
It's a whole fresh face for the Commanders, and they definitely need. So I definitely think Drake May's in play here. But me personally, I have not been the biggest Drake May fan. He's somebody that I think could be all right if he's in a good situation. And but for me, the Commanders, Sam Howell and Drake May are 1A, 1B. They both went to UNC. So you're gonna tell me you just took a UNC quarterback pretty high with Sam Howell, that didn't work out, and you're gonna run that right back with Drake May? I mean, I don't know if they're looking into it like that, but I think the fans would go up in arms about having another UNC quarterback, and I think they want the bells and whistles of the Heisman Trophy winner, and I think that will propel Jayden Daniels to 2.
And Jayden Daniels isn't a bad pick. The difference between the two is like Drake May's got all this talent, and he's coming out as a sophomore.
Yep.
Jayden Daniels is coming out as a senior. You know what I mean? So he had a little bit preheating before he came into the NFL draft. So that's why had Drake May stayed, maybe to use the transfer portal and went to a bigger conference and kind of tried to show out or anything like that, then he might have risen his draft stock a little higher. But he is the second or third quarterback ranked in this draft. So it's not a bad idea for him to come out. With that said, Hunter making his pick.
I was just going to
unless Kurt, you got anything on that pick?
I like Jayden Daniels more than Caleb Williams. He's a better dual threat. I mean, he won the Heisman last year. Caleb Williams obviously won it 2 years ago. It's just unfortunate to see a talent like him. I mean, being a dual threat, doing it whether it's on the ground with his feet or throwing the ball. He had 2 really good receivers there, but if you can throw it, you can sling it. But unfortunately, hopefully Washington does buy him right. I mean, they got Cliff Kingsbury. They got a new head coach. I believe Dan Quinn went there. So the former DC for the Cowboys and Seahawks. So that'll be interesting. But you gotta put someone back to at least give you a shot. And I think he's probably your best option at this point. So I'm good with it.
Can I give you guys a hot take? Because Kurt, you kind of said that you had Jayden Daniels over Caleb Williams. Can I give you a hot take? I got Michael Penix over Caleb Williams, in my opinion.
Wow. No, I gotta hear more on that. You gotta
hear more on that. Well, one, Michael Penix is now more accomplished than Caleb Williams in college. He's bigger, like he's taller than Caleb Williams, and he's thinner, which means he's going to be faster. So I think overall, if you're looking for him to get out of the pocket and run, which he's going to need to with the Bears, let's just put him in the Bears situation. Michael Penix is going to get out of more trouble. I think he's a better thrower on the run. And like I said, I like his height a lot more. I know it's only 2 inches, but he's taller and thinner than Caleb Williams. And it's not because he's like Caleb Williams is built different or anything like that. It's just, got less weight to tote around. I don't know. I think Michael Penix had to play. He played into the season further. Let's face it. They're both in the Pac-12.
Yep.
And Michael Penix went what? Let's say where he went. Where'd he go, Hunter?
Washington.
Where did he finish his season compared to Caleb Williams?
Oh yeah, he's in the title game, and Caleb Williams is not even close.
Yeah, I was just saying it because it was
with
against your
all
team.
that talent at USC. Yeah, then that makes more sense. But I definitely could see that. I mean, I definitely thought that like Jayden Daniels getting the Heisman Trophy, he was kind of a little bit underperforming at LSU, and his draft stock really rose. I thought Penix making it as far as he did would really rise his draft stock. Honestly, more than it did. He's still kind of in that middle of the first round type of QB, which is fine, but I thought he might have been had a chance to be a little bit higher with how he did play a lot farther than I think anybody expected.
I honestly think that the school pedigree of him going to Washington affected him a little bit more than what people think. I mean, people don't really draft
100%.
quarterbacks from Washington. It's kind of like
100%.
Caleb Williams goes to USC. Yeah, it's still Pac-12 and all that stuff, but you've seen USC quarterbacks come out of the schools and come to the NFL. So there's a bit of a pedigree there. So it's just a little crazy. But with that said, Kurt, you are on the clock, sir. You are on the clock for the
regime,
New England Patriots.
Personally, the Patriots probably would trade back, but we're not gonna. That's just a big headache. The Patriots always prefer more to trade and accumulate more draft picks under the Belichick regime. But with Jerod Mayo, I think he's probably gonna maybe implement a little bit of that blueprint that DeMeco Ryans implemented. My bad. That's not even a word. With drafting C.J. Stroud. So with the third pick in this draft, I think the New England Patriots are going to draft quarterback Drake May out of North Carolina. Personally...
And Belichick with that raw talent?
Yeah,
Ooh.
personally, I would trade down
Belichick, I'm sorry. Belichick's not there anymore. I'm an idiot.
Because that entire team is a mess. But that's just my opinion. But you need a guy. I think the only quarterback you have on the roster is Jacoby Brissett, if I'm not mistaken. He's a decent backup, but he could probably play a couple games, maybe transition into Drake May. But I think they'll go Drake May here. And when I watched Drake May, I got big Justin Herbert vibes. Like he has the physical intangibles. Maybe it was held back a little bit by kind of just the players around him, but I think he'll be. I don't know. We saw Mac Jones go there, and we saw how that worked. So, like I said earlier, with these quarterbacks, depends on what they do with them, if they actually put, the talent around them and the coaching. So, we'll see. But I like Drake May here at 3.
Which is not a bad pick. So you're talking about somebody ranked 5th in the draft going 3rd. So, I mean, it's not like it's far off in the rankings or anything like that when it comes to the players. You guys know my opinion of Drake May. I like him. I think he's got a lot of raw talent if he finds the right coaching. So hopefully Mayo's got a good offensive staff out there. And hopefully he's got a good quarterbacks coach. I mean, as long as you got good coaching staff, you'll be able to have your players be successful and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens with that. Hunter, what are your thoughts on the Patriots taking Drake May? See, the thing is that Mayo is I haven't seen him coach. So like the first thing with the Patriots, because I'm used to doing it the last 25, 30 years, I'm used to going, oh, Bill Belichick. And I did it. I got my old brain fog, being an old man, just forgot that Belichick is not even in the league anymore. So, I don't know what the Patriots are going to do, and they're going to be a very interesting team because we're so used to seeing them be successful, and it's going to be something brand new.
Yeah, honestly, my thoughts are this. I mean, I think that, like you said, New England, I really do think this is a spot they try to trade down. Drake May's a solid pick if they do go that route, and I would rather them go Drake May because I've heard J.J. McCarthy's name going all the way up to number 3 overall to the Patriots, and I just do not like that spot for my former quarterback to enter the pros with the Patriots. I just don't like it. With that, I think Drake May could be a good spot, but like Kurt said, I think that the Patriots are a mess, and they could definitely, rather than taking a project-like quarterback that I think Drake May is, because I think he's more of a project. Like he said, he's young, and yes, if he gets a decent spot with a good staff, it could be something, but I think he's definitely a project quarterback. And for number 3 overall, I think maybe trading down with somebody and trying to get some capital makes sense. But they stay quarterback. I'm cool with them taking Drake May. Stay away from J.J. McCarthy. That's fine with me.
All right. So the Cardinals, they actually, with Kyler Murray actually back in the saddle, they didn't look too bad as far as their offense goes. They could not fucking stop anybody. They got into a lot of shootouts. And I'm concerned about Murray's health a little bit. I would not draft a quarterback or anything like that to replace him. Obviously, you just got to have a good backup waiting in the wings. But they need defensive help too, and there's nobody else ranked higher right now on defense. So with the best player in the draft still on the board because everybody nuts in a napkin over quarterbacks, the Arizona Cardinals take Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. And he goes 4. And the Cardinals are a scary-ass team now. Not to mention that they have another pick in this draft. In this round, anyway. I keep saying the draft, but in this round, in our draft that we're doing, they have another pick to get even scarier, to work on that defense. And the defensive backs and some of the defensive edge rushers, it's a little deep this year when you take it all into consideration. So Marvin Harrison goes to the Cardinals. He's wearing a different shade of red for his professional career.
Growth.
What do you guys? What do you think? Is that consensus, or do you think Malik Nabers goes, or Nabers, however you want to pronounce his last name?
No, that's definitely, that should be, as long as everything stays where it is. I think that's a good spot for him. I don't know if it's the best spot, but I think that, like we said, Marvin can make somebody that's average good, and I think he could even revive Kyler Murray's career if Kyler actually takes everything serious and the injury bug don't bite him. I think Kyler could do some damage with Marvin if they can kind of build an offense in Arizona. So I think that's a good pick. It's probably where I'm going. Like you said, everybody worried about quarterback, and one of the best in true talent falls to number 4 to the Cardinals.
This is an absolute
you can't
no-brainer.
Your Arizona there.
I'm telling you, don't be shocked though.
No-brainer. If you're Arizona, you just write the car, right up to the podium.
No brainer.
You don't even second guess this pick. Honestly, and Marvin Harrison Jr., and this is all bias aside, he's probably one of the best wide receiver prospects I've ever seen come out of college in my lifetime. Like, his talent is his ceiling.
Oh, well, of
we
course.
could be looking at something here if Arizona does not fumble this situation. And Kyler Murray can definitely do that. So, he's a little more of a dual threat. Well, it'll be interesting to see how they work on that passing game. But, no question. Marvin Harrison Jr. has got to go here.
Yeah, I will say I will look out for potentially, like I talked about before, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bears go Marvin route just out of value, but the Patriots as well. They do have Brissett, and Marvin Harrison isn't going to take, I don't think Marvin Harrison is good enough to make a team so good that, like, especially like a team like the Bears or the Patriots, to get them out of a top 10 pick next year if they don't draft a quarterback. So you can wait and see what the crop of quarterbacks looks like next year. So, if the Bears or the Patriots, Commanders have to go, especially if the Bears say go Marvin. Commanders, no matter what, I think the Commanders have to go quarterback. They have to, you got a new coach, no quarterback. So I don't think the Commanders would pick Marvin. But the Bears or the Patriots, there's a potential there. Robert Kraft could say, look, Marvin Harrison is a value. Like, I know he likes to let his GM and coach do their own thing. I don't know what kind of leash they're going to have for the coach there. But, if he doesn't go to the Cardinals, then, watch out. If Marvin does go early, then, you probably would look for Malik from LSU probably to go to the Cardinals. But as it stands with the teams picking what they picked so far, Marvin is the pick. And that goes to Hunter for number 5. The Chargers are now on the clock.
Ooh, awesome. One of my favorite picks in this draft, this mock. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh taking the reins for the Chargers. Salute to my boy Jim out there. And
he's going to pick JJ. He's going JJ.
He gets to take his first draft with the Chargers. Number 5. I think this is another spot for a potential trade. I've loved a Chargers to Minnesota, and Minnesota grab Jayden here at 5. That's been one of my favorite just little trades to play around with. Obviously, we're not going to mess around with no trades. So I'm going to Jim stays at 5. And one of my favorite picks for him is adding a freak of nature at tight end at 5. I think he's going Brock Bowers. The pick is in. Chargers take Brock Bowers. I think athletic freak. I mean, I think that you got to build somewhere on in the receiving room for the Chargers, and Brock Bowers does that for me. I think that they can build up his blocking a bit. This is definitely a potential receiver. With Neighbors, I could definitely see him being the choice here if they wanted another receiver out there.
Yep.
With losing Keenan Allen and Mike Williams as well, right?
Yep.
But with this one, I love what Brock Bowers presents. I mean, Jim obviously got a couple good looks of him, taking him on in the playoffs and things like that when he was at Michigan. And I think he'll let's go Brock Bowers at 5.
I don't know if I like that. If you're going to go receiving or talent or something like that, I get it, he's a freak. But you got Malik right there. I'm not so sure that if you're gonna go that route, you go tight end as opposed to Rome or Malik.
Huh? I could definitely see Rome or Malik being the pick, absolutely. But throw a wrench in it.
Because I'm gonna say they got some decent size too. I mean, Malik is 6'2", 200, and Rome is 6'3", 215.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are definitely some good receiver options. Like I said, I'm not surprised in the slightest if it's a receiver, but maybe throw some variety in it. And I really think, coming from college and seeing Brock Bowers up close and personal, maybe Jim likes what he can add to the Chargers offense in year 1.
Yeah, all right. So Brock Bowers. That's
real
the
quick,
pick.
I want to dig in.
Pick,
I want
which
to
leaves
dig in
Kurt
on this one.
At number 6, the New York Giants.
I would like this pick, but for me,
that's my bad. Go ahead.
When I think about the Harbaugh style way of playing, I think of running the ball and winning in the trenches. And I have no problem with Bowers other than he's more of a receiving tight end. So maybe he's fine with losing those receivers and looking at maybe more of using his tight end, which would be Bowers, who's more of an exclusive receiving threat. I don't really remember seeing him block at Georgia like that, to be honest. But personally, I would go offensive line because Herbert has been hurt many times the past couple of years, and Jim likes to win in the trenches. I would like this pick if they do this, but I would rather see them go offensive line because I know they're going to run the ball. I mean, that's how Jim likes to win. Pound the ball. I think everyone's kind of overseeing how Harbaugh likes to play. He's not going to have Herbert sling it 50 times. Maybe they'll get a receiver, but that's not his style. That's not how Harbaugh has won in football. He likes to run the ball first, win in the trenches. And so Bowers is a good addition, but I think an offensive lineman here would not be a bad play in my mind.
Yeah, and they did acquire a tight end in the offseason. I mean, so I don't know what kind of stock that has into it, but I mean, if you look at most, I guess, analysts and stuff like that, offensive tackle is like the least on their board. A lot of people are saying they need defense and receiving. And I think that's why I'm kind of like stuck on the receiver part of it. So going the tight end is not a bad route either. Will Dissly, I really don't know who that is. It doesn't strike me as anybody that like I know. I mean, and then tight ends on top of it are kind of going away at this point. If you think about it, the utilization of the tight end, you don't really see it on too many teams anymore, except for Travis Kelce. And that's just because Chiefs don't have any receivers. But I mean, I like the Brock Bowers. That just means that Joe Alt is falling closer to the Eagles.
I had no whereabouts or idea of who he was until Michigan played him a couple of years ago in the playoffs. I was like, that dude can ball. Like for a tight end, he's a perfect tight end for today's game. Like he's fast. He's real agile. He's hard to bring down. And he just got open. Like he was basically Georgia's like number one passing, like receiving threat last year in the season. So still a good player for sure.
Receiving threat. Yep. I would say He's the one that mimics Travis Kelce. If there's ever been a tight end coming out of college entering the pros that's mimicked Travis Kelce since he came in,
But
I would say he's easily
I wouldn't be
one and
surprised
only
if
that's
they do that, or maybe
close to
they
him.
trade down and somebody trades the farm to them for a quarterback. But I'll get on with the G-men here. The New York Giants. Oh man, what a mess. This is what it's been the past 12 years, man. Ever since they won that Super Bowl 2011, it just kind of been a joke. I know most people are going quarterback here, and
something like that. Yeah.
To me, no shot, man. We are going. This is a no-brainer pick. This is a no-brainer pick to me.
No,
we got to go offensive tackle Joe
No.
Alt, tackle out of Notre Dame. This was, and I looked into this. This offensive line for the Giants last year allowed 80-plus sacks, one of the most allowed sacks by an offensive line in NFL history.
Oh my! Ooh. What is that? Carter, you're good at math. What is that?
17,
so it's
34,
what is that, like 5 a
51.
No, is that more than 5 a game?
68.
yeah, it's
That's
almost
like 4-ish a game.
That's almost 10 a game.
So, I mean, people are saying they're going to take a quarterback, and it's like, why would you throw a quarterback there behind that mess when you just invested in Daniel Jones? You know, people have conflicting. Yeah, we got to ride with Daniel Jesus Jones at least one more year.
I was
people
going to say, we got to ride with Jesus Jones.
I don't think he's really that. Yeah, they should have paid Saquon, but that's another day.
Well, with that
that's
money.
Another story for another day. But for me, Joe Alt here, you're a rebuilding team. Take a good player and let's start somewhere. I mean, for goodness sakes, man, we're allowing 80-plus sacks a game, like a season. Let's start from scratch here. And mind you, Joe Alt is also, I think, one of the best players in the draft. If I'm not mistaken, I think I don't know if he's a blindside protector or a right tackle, though. But we got to take someone there on the offensive line.
Okay, well, that just breaks my heart. I'm really sad. So, we had talked about.
Yeah.
You just talked about how bad the Giants were, right? Do you know that there's a worse team out there than the Giants when it came to allowing sacks?
Uh-oh.
It was the Tennessee Titans, ranked 32nd in the league last year. Now, they do need some defensive help, but when you're last in the league when it comes to protecting your quarterback, and you have a second year or third year quarterback, Levis is second year, right? This will be a second year.
Yep.
And you're developing him. The one thing you don't want to do is give him a habit of seeing ghost in the backfield. So, with the number 7 overall pick, the Tennessee Titans are going to select Fashanu, Penn State, offensive tackle, 6'6", 317.
It's a big brother.
It's a Big Ten big boy right there, and he's ranked 4th out of all these players in the draft in some books. So, yeah, they're going to go and protect Will Levis, and they're going to grab that kid from Penn State. 32nd in the league is not good. They had, in the last game of last year, they allowed 7 sacks. 7 sacks to the Texans.
Yeah,
When your quarterback is getting sacked almost 10 times in one game, no bueno.
Yeah, I think that would be
freaking bueno.
A pretty good pick for them. When you got a young Will Levis, you lose Derrick Henry, you bring in Tony Pollard, who was okay last year. He came off a pretty nasty injury. You add Calvin Ridley for a huge lottery number, which, whatever. An older D-Hop. So you're giving them at least some decent players to work with, and you got to run the ball somewhat and have a shot at least protecting him. So I think Fashanu would be a pretty solid pick for him. I'm not going to try to pronounce that first name, but he was really good at Penn State. He was really good at Penn State.
Nope.
When I saw them play, so I think he's I'm surprised with where he's ranked. I think he's personally one of the top 2 or 3 tackles. I'm surprised he's ranked where he is.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that. I was getting ready to say that
he's not fourth.
He's got to be top.
No,
I would say he's got to be top.
He's not.
He's got to be top 2.
Yeah, I didn't mean when I said he's fourth. I didn't mean out of tackles. I mean out of the entire draft. He's the 4th ranked player that I've seen across on a lot of draft rankings. Yeah, he's above Joe Alt at 7. So they got They got Fashanu the first offensive lineman ranked out of all of them.
That doesn't surprise me. He's a beast. He was great at Penn State all season long. Really, really good. And I'm not surprised he's a top 10 pick here. I think he will easily go in the top 10. Joe Alt's really good as well. So a couple really good tackles. So take your pick type of players right there. But some really good tackles to help these teams that really need O-line.
Yeah, and with that said,
we're on to 8 right now, right? With the Falcons?
8 for the Falcons. Hunter, you have to choose the player to add after the Falcons add Kirk Crazy Cousins. Crazy Kirk Cousins.
They do. Ooh. All right. I've had Atlanta a couple of times when I've done a mock, and I actually like this pick. So I'm gonna take a defensive player. Yep. We're gonna go to that side of the ball for the first time, right? For the first time in this mock, we're gonna go to the defense side of the ball. Atlanta's going to attack what I think is a big need in their edge defender, little D-line player. I like at 8 overall, the Falcons to select Latu, the edge defender from UCLA. I think they
6'5", 265.
Yeah, they add something to their defensive core, their defensive line there. They could easily go quarterback because I think that's a big need. But when I look at Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell as top 10 players, I don't really see it. I see Latu as a top 10 player that can make an impact on this really bad Falcons defense in year 1.
Listen, I will tell you this. When it comes to D-line or offensive line, I will never not draft me a Polynesian guy. All right? Them guys can ball the fuck out. Them guys are tough. They're sturdy. It doesn't matter how big they are. They're all strong. I mean, look at Jordan Mailata. He was playing rugby, came back, and now he's multi-million-dollar, $100 million left tackle for the Eagles after a little bit of development.
Yep.
Right. Just the history of their culture coming in. It's a tough brand of people. I respect them. I mean, even The Rock. Look at how tough he is and how big he is. He's Polynesian too.
Absolutely.
They just got that mindset, that warrior mindset. And I'll never.
See Byron. I like Byron Murphy. Byron Murphy and Newton. If you're gonna go defensive line, more specific. I think that those two guys could definitely be in play if they want to go more in the trenches, actually. But Latu's an interesting player. I like this game at UCLA. I think he could definitely be within this range of players if it's not an actual defensive line player. So I think it's one of those guys, but I'll just take Latu.
Yeah, I think.
All right, Kurt, thoughts on that one?
Atlanta has a good shot to really be the first team to take a defender in the draft. Just the way they're built with Kirk, Bijan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. You bring in a new head coach. I think it's Raheem Morris, if I'm not mistaken. He's more of a defensive type of guy. So you got to shape up that defense. They don't really, even though they added a lot of players in the free agency period last year, there's not really anyone that would make me quake. So I think you got to put someone on defense to get after opposing quarterbacks. And I think this would be a solid pick for them.
All right. With that said, Kurt, I think you're next, man, and you get the Bears' second pick in the top 10. In the top 10, they got 2 picks in the top 10. Are they keeping it? Or are they trading it?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter in this case. You still have to pick. You can't trade it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So here we go, man. Chicago Bears with their second pick in the draft. I have them taking another offensive tackle coming off the board here. We are going to be taking a look at Talisa Fuagu out of Oregon State, who is a right tackle. Last year they took Darnell Wright, who was a left tackle. This is a very talented tackle draft. For taking Caleb Williams, we gotta protect him somewhat. We gotta have guys that can work in the trenches, use somewhat of a running game. And you already got a couple receivers with Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. So when people, maybe they might go receiver, but why do you need 3 of them? Why do you need 3 of them? You're in Chicago. This isn't a dome. This is cold outdoor weather. So
Yeah, I'll never understand it. People keep saying the Eagles are going to take a receiver, and I'm like, no, why? We have like 5.
But linemen are never a bad option. So I'm going to go Fuaga here with Oregon State, who's projected to be one of the top offensive tackles in the draft. So I think be a good foundational piece for them as they look to compete in that division. You got to block guys like Aiden Hutchinson. You got to block some pretty solid defenders over there. So you also have to keep in mind that your division opponents could also play in as a factor here.
Hunter, what do you think about that? Do you think they're going offensive line, or you think they go get their new quarterback a weapon, a younger weapon?
I don't know. I like the idea of a younger weapon. I definitely think he's on the right track. I could definitely see a pathway to them taking a tackle and wanting to give the quarterback of their choosing some protection. But something tells me the Bears kind of want to get some excitement and some flashiness in this draft with having 2 top 10 picks. Something tells me they go flashy receiver. But I can definitely see the more solid, especially for that division, for that type of play. O-line makes a whole lot of sense, but I could definitely see a flashy receiver. So I could definitely see going either way. I think those are really the only 2 options I'm going there for the Bears' second pick. It's either offensive tackle or another weapon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked, though, because they couldn't stop anybody for the life of them either. So I wouldn't be shocked if they went defense, to be honest with you. I mean, right now we're hitting the 10. You got your star quarterback to help out the offense, and then you go get somebody to help out the defense that's top 10. Kind of like what the Texans did last year. They went and got their quarterback in Stroud, and then they went and got the kid from Alabama. What's his name? It's Will Anderson. Yes, sir.
Will Anderson.
That guy.
Yep.
So we might see something like that. You never know. But with that said, it's my pick, and I got the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully he can play more than 3 snaps this year.
Rodgers.
I know they need an offensive tackle, but here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers had to bring over somebody from the Packers to catch footballs for him. And so they need some help. And I'm going to go out of the box here a little bit because maybe I'm overthinking it. I think he should be higher, but the Jets pick here is going to be Brian Thomas, LSU. Neighbors isn't picked yet. Rome isn't picked yet. I'm going Brian Thomas. And let me
Wow.
Let me tell you why. He's the biggest wide receiver left in this draft right now at 6'4", 205. He's also one of the fastest, a 4.33 40, a 39-inch vertical jump, and a 10'6" broad jump. Aaron Rodgers likes his big explosive receivers. And this kid is fast. 4.33 40. Brian Thomas, underrated. Playing with Aaron Rodgers is going to give him some help. So I'm going Brian Thomas.
Wow. I don't hate the pick. I think Rome or one of them guys, bigger name, might be better suited. But Brian Thomas was definitely. I feel like he was a little underutilized. I think Brian Thomas was underutilized at LSU a little bit, and I think that he could have been better than his stats portrayed him a little bit, especially with trying to get balls opposite of Malik Neighbors when he was getting a lot of targets from Jayden Daniels. So I think I definitely could see her pick, but it'd be hard to believe that they would take Brian Thomas over Malik Neighbors or Rome when they've had such bigger names.
Neighbors didn't participate in the combine, so we have no idea how explosive or fast he is. And Neighbors is also
I didn't think
4
about
inches
that.
shorter.
That's crazy. Has he been? Did he get hurt? He got hurt, right?
Yeah, Neighbors
got hurt.
Was only he's only 6 foot. What? Even Rome is 6'3", 215, but he had a 4.4 540, a 39-inch vertical, and a shorter broad jump than Brian did at the combine. So Brian is taller, he's lighter, and he's faster, and he's more explosive according to these draft combine stats. Now, I told you how much I put into the vertical and the broad. So I mean, and you got to think sometimes, and we see this all the time where a receiver jumps above that. We're like, why didn't they grab this guy? You know, like we're like, wonder why this guy went over that. And I think this is a case. Yeah, can we go chalk on this podcast and go, yeah, Malik's ranked second, Rome's no, but I'm looking at these stats and the performance of the combine, and I'm like, this kid is faster, more explosive, and he's tall, 6'4". I mean, he's as tall as Marvin is, and he's the same height, the same weight, and he ran a 4.33, and then that broad jump and that vertical jump is kind of even keel with the rest of the receivers, except the broad jump's a little more explosive.
Yeah,
that's the only reason
the Jets
why.
are in a really good spot here with
think,
a top
Kurt?
10 pick. To be quite frankly honest with you, last year the Jets had a really good defense, but with the injuries to Aaron Rodgers, their offense just really didn't have a chance to compete that well. They made some additions in the offseason, adding some linemen, so I don't think they go line here. I think they're really in a good spot to take whatever the best skill position player is there. They did add Mike Williams, so now you have Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams. Mike Williams is a bigger receiver. He's had injury concerns, but I think the pick here is a receiver. It's whatever one they like more. So it's kind of like whoever they really want, honestly. At least with this draft we have going on. It could be potentially Thomas, but it could be Rome. It could be Neighbors. It's kind of just whoever they like or whoever's there. But you couldn't really score that well last year. You got Breece Hall, who's a pretty good running back, so I definitely think you add a weapon for Rodgers to sling it to. And in that division with Miami, Buffalo, and the Patriots, I think a receiver would definitely give them. Yeah, I think that definitely give them some more firepower.
You have to score.
Receiver for me is cool.
All right. Now we have the Minnesota Vikings. Do we know what's going on with Justin Jefferson yet? Is he demanding that trade? I hope so. Comes to the Eagles and balls out because that's where he should be anyway. He should be on the Eagles. That's exactly where he should be. It should never have been that bastard.
Put him in Cincy.
It should never have been that best. It should always have been the Vikings. No, they got to get O-line help. Anyway, so Hunter, you got the Vikings. You're in charge of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
What are you thinking?
All right. So this has been another spot that I like. I'm going to just keep it simple. They got Sam Darnold at quarterback. This is another spot where I think they're in a spot where they have to go quarterback. And this is just where I have found my favorite spot for your 24 national champion quarterback out of Michigan, J.J. McCarthy. I think that in this spot, I think this is his best case scenario, best team, best situation, especially with the offense. I hope that they would keep Jefferson there in that case, but who knows what happens with that. If he wants to leave, then who knows what happens there. But I think that Minnesota is absolutely in a need a quarterback, and for the quarterbacks that are left, I think I've seen Jayden's been with rumored to them a couple of times, and if he lasts this long, I think it's a no-brainer for the Vikings to take him off the board at 11.
That's all right. Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, maybe they do. I don't. Honestly, the Vikings is really difficult because if you look at the Vikings, they lost a lot of defenders. A lot of defenders. They got nobody on that team yet on the other side of the ball. And if they did get Sam Darnold, do you really need a quarterback to waste a top 11 pick on? I don't know. They lost Daniel Hunter. They lost DJ Wonham, Jordan Hicks, Marcus Davenport. They're all gone. So they did get Shaq Griffin, and they did pick up Andrew Van Ginkel. But I don't know. So it'd be toughy there. I mean, they could get a quarterback. They very well could get McCarthy. It just depends what they want to do. A lot of teams are in a weird spot as when it comes to their quarterback situation. So it'll be interesting to see. But I don't hate it. Don't love it. Don't hate it.
He's one of the
Kurt,
only
what do you think about this one? Is that where your boy goes?
Yeah, I don't think he'll be here, but I'm good with him going to Minnesota. TJ Hawkinson, Jordan.
Like, you don't think he'll last to this, or you don't think he'll go that high?
He'll last to 11. You don't think he'll last to 11?
I don't know if he'll be there at 11 because every year quarterbacks get propped up like they're the holy grail of football. So someone might trade up for him. But if he's there at 11, I think Minnesota. Yeah. I think Minnesota would draft him because Sam Darnold is not it. I don't. Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, and running backs. They added Aaron Jones. So I mean, I like the offense. That's a solid offense to roll with. Defense, not so good. But yeah, their defense is poo-poo.
I see your defensive point, Tony. It's definitely there, but I think, like Kurt said, we know Sam Darnold ain't the answer.
Yeah,
I mean, they definitely need help on defense, but really Minnesota's got to do a whole team face makeover. So at this point, right. And if we're trying to take that, I would say it's at least a good NFL offense, and you're putting Sam Darnold at the helm, that will quickly become a very bad offense, I believe. So I definitely think it could make Minnesota either trade up or, like we say, if JJ sits here at 11, they take him. So let's go with that.
Yeah,
let's
this
go to
is
12 with the Broncos.
Yeah.
Man, this is a weird spot, man.
Get him, Hunter.
Oof, Denver. Oh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do here?
They need everything. These next three picks, they need everything.
Wow. Well, Sean Payton.
Like, there's nothing that they don't need.
You know what, man? Most people had them taking a quarterback. We're not going quarterback here. We're not, because this team is such a mess. We're not ready to roll with the Chiefs. We're not really there. We got rid of Wilson. I don't even know who's throwing the ball. I don't even know who's catching the ball. We have Patrick Surtain, who's a pretty solid, who's a really good corner. Bradley Chubb's a decent defender. But receiving wise, we got Cortland Sutton, who's an older player. We traded away Jerry Jeudy, and we're gonna go best receiver available here. And I like Malik Neighbors here. I don't think he'd be here, and you can make the case for that quarterback, but I don't like the quarterbacks that are here right now. To be honest with you, I'm not taking a Bo Nix. I'm not taking a Penix here.
No, all we got is Bo Nix. And
I like Penix,
really,
but
that's it.
I view them more as...
Well, yeah, you got Penix.
They'll probably be... I see them more as second-round players, personally. So, yeah, I'm going best player available here.
They're right around that. Yeah, I was gonna say they're right around that Lamar Jackson area, like 32nd. You know what I mean? That's between 30 and 40.
So if I know they're gonna be there in the second round, why would I take them now? It makes no sense. So we're going with Malik Neighbors, explosive receiver with LSU, as they just put out receivers into the draft like every year. It seems like they got weapons out there. So we're going with Neighbors here.
Right. Yeah, no, that's out of the box, and who knows what Elway's thinking, to be honest with you.
He likes his quarterbacks, but who knows?
Hunter, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think if Malik Neighbors fell this far, it'd pretty much be a no-brainer pick. Like we were saying, they're one of them teams that need a whole lot of help everywhere, and they got to start somewhere. So if Malik would fall that far, I think that's a great pick for them. Um, yeah, like we said, we don't know who's throwing the ball. We don't. It's kind of like a. It's not. I mean, the Cardinals are in a way better situation because they have Kyler, but it's like a. You don't like. You need a whole lot of places. You have holes in a whole lot of places, and you got to start plugging them somehow. Um, Nobody really on defense. I'm really taking over, especially if one of these receivers are still on the board. So I think that makes a whole lot of sense there. And yeah, I think that Malik Neighbors at 12. I think that he's definitely off the board before then. And if he's not, that's an absolute steal.
Yeah. So, all right, that now see, I was prepared for Penix to go off the board here. I was kind of expecting that. I wasn't sure. I'm the Raiders GM, and I'm sitting here like, okay, they really need a quarterback, so they're going to take one. And I really don't trust Bo Nix, so I was prepared to take Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. You know, defensive guy, Antonio Pierce. I was thinking about taking that, but then you go Malik Neighbors, and I'm like, all right. I really don't know. And if I'm a coach that just got transitioned in the middle of last year, and I had to get rid of that bozo wannabe OnlyFans star and Jimmy Garoppolo, I want my quarterback. I want somebody to ride with. I'm hitching my wagon if I'm Antonio Pierce to Penix. I am taking Penix at 13. I know it's a little early, but I'm not picking until almost the 50s next round. And I can't wait that long to get a quarterback. And that's why these teams go quickly at quarterback, because they're like, what are we doing next? I have no idea. The Raiders have a decent defense. I like it, but they got nobody to run that goddamn offense. Almost like the Jets were, except the Jets at least have Aaron Rodgers coming back. The Raiders don't have anybody coming back. They went and picked up Gardner Minshew, and Minshew is what? What do we all know Minshew to be? The guy that transitions another quarterback into the room. So they're going quarterback here. Give me Michael Penix Jr. for the Raiders
I would like
at number
this
13.
Pick.
Solid. I think that'd be good. That'd be good. Yeah, that'd be good. If you can avoid Bo Nix, I would avoid Bo Nix at all costs. He's another one of those that I saw what I needed to from college, and I just don't know how he's going to translate to the pros, especially starting out. And the Raiders are absolutely going to need somebody for either one.
Yeah, like I said, I can make the case for Michael Penix being better than Caleb Williams. You know, like I feel I've already told you that. I think that he is almost better than Caleb Williams. It's just he played for Washington. We talked about it a little bit ago, and yeah. So I know that it may be, quote, a reach to some people, but I don't think it is. I think that's good, decent value.
Yeah, especially for a team like that needs... with Pierce, a team that comes, somebody comes in late, got to try to build your own team, build your own culture, got to start at the top. You want to start with the new leader. I think Penix showed he was a leader. I gained a lot of respect watching Penix take that beating he did against Michigan and refuse to come out of the game when he was more than obviously hurt. Nearing the end of that game, especially when they were down, and him not coming out and him playing to the end of the game, it really gained a lot more respect than I already had for him, because he was a great player at Indiana when he was there, and then it was really good to see him excel at Washington. So I think this is a great pick. Well, I got a big Raiders fan, my buddy, and he would be happy because he hates Bo Nix and he wants Penix. So that'd be good for him.
Yeah, and Raiders fans, you might even want to look to the Raiders possibly trading this, because there's not too many teams that need quarterbacks after they pick. So they could even potentially trade to a team that needs something like an offensive tackle. Like the offensive tackles we had a little bit of a run on. Maybe somebody jumps to the Raiders to pick one that they want if it's still there. I mean, because you're talking about the next few picks is the Saints don't need one, Colts don't need one, Seahawks don't need one, Jags don't need one, Bengals don't need it, Rams don't need it, Steelers don't need it, Dolphins don't need it, Eagles don't need it, and the Vikings already got their guy earlier, I believe, right? Did you give the Vikings a QB? Yes, J.J. McCarthy. Yep. So the Vikings don't need it. So you're talking about possibly a trade, and they can get Penix later in the draft and pick up a couple more picks, maybe in the first round, maybe in the second round.
Yeah, Michael Penix Jr.
With that said,
He's
14, that's
Kurt?
me with the Saints, ain't
he
it?
definitely balled out
it is,
last
unless
year.
Kurt's
Really
got something
good
on the Michael Penix.
needle threader in the pocket.
Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of had some questions about when he's under pressure, his ability to throw under pressure. Completion percentage-wise, it really wasn't that good. But he balled out, man, there at Washington. Only problem with him is kind of the injury concerns. But, I mean, dude, anybody can get hurt any play. You know, bad luck, unfortunately, happens. And in a league like this, it's going to happen. So I'm not going to sweat too much about that. He's been in college for quite some time. And if I was the Raiders, I would have no problem taking him. I don't really think Aiden O'Connell, the 4th round, 5th round quarterback out of Purdue, is really going to be nothing too crazy. And Gardner Minshew is what he is. He's a backup at best. We lose Josh Jacobs, and we know what running backs are. We're not going there. You got Devontae Adams, so you got a really good receiver for him there. And then you got Max Crosby on defense, and their defense.
Yeah.
What's that?
You know the top-rated running back? The top-rated running back isn't projected to go until the 3rd round. There's no running backs in this draft this year. Blake Corum is, but I'm not drafting him first or second round.
Yeah,
there's way too many other needs for a lot of teams than running back. You can find a running back.
Definitely evolved big time over the past 15-ish some years, but yeah, I'm not too confident in O'Connell or Minshew here, so I have no problem with Penix. I like him more than Bo Nix, that's fucking for sure. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, no. Like I said, if Bo Nix was the only one left, I was staying away. That leaves Hunter with the Saints. He actually lands on his team. Oh my goodness! Well, if that is his team, I don't even know. But anyway, Hunter's got the Saints.
Yeah, we got the Saints at 14 here. Looking at the board, it looks like a need could be quarterback, but just like we just talked about, Bo Nix being one of the only real ones left that could be a first-round consideration, and I am just not a fan. Point blank, period. We're going to look around the board here. Could be defensive line. I don't mind the Saints' defensive line, though. So between a receiver and a tackle need, I'm going to give the Saints a tackle here.
Fatanu.
And we're just going to go Troy.
Fatanu.
Fatanu. Troy Fatanu from Washington. And I think they can set up the offensive line a little bit. I don't really know. I have no idea what the Saints will do with this pick. They kind of got a couple different needs. Could be a defensive guy. Says defensive line on their needs, but tackle was up there, so I'll give them Troy from Washington at 14.
Yeah, if I'm the Saints, this is where I go get Mitchell, Quinyon Mitchell, 8th ranked player in the draft, top corner ranked in the draft. Nope, can't switch. You already picked. Nope, too late. Too late.
No, I'm not switching. I'm just saying that's pretty. That's a good. That's a good one. But corners aren't even on their needs. So
that's funny.
I don't really think about that.
Well, I just know they like defense, right? The Saints if one thing they always have a decent defense. They got some decent players all the time. And they always do that by shoring it up. So I'm just talking strictly at 14, getting the 8th, the 8th ranked best player in the draft, top corner in the draft falls here at 14. That's value. I mean, sure, you can go, offensive line, but who really cares if you're trying to protect Derek Carr? And I don't mean I want him to get hurt or anything, but is Derek Carr really the quarterback of your future, New Orleans? Probably not.
Of course.
You're probably looking at getting a quarterback somewhere else. So, I would build up on that defense. Derek Carr is good enough to kind of suffice there. Their offensive line wasn't awful. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you took the offensive tackle. That's fine. They need one. That's high up on their list, but so is defense.
Yeah, I was going to chime in. Fatanu is a left tackle, which would make sense.
What do you think,
You got
Kurt?
Andres Pete there, who's he's okay. Ryan Ramczyk's a really good right tackle, so I do like that for them. Yeah, he's probably gone. They'll let him go.
I heard
So
Pete might be
I wouldn't have a
leaving.
problem.
I
I think Vitanu would be good here, or
yeah, okay.
maybe if Rome is here, that wouldn't be a bad idea either. But because the Saints always, like when they draft linemen, they're usually pretty stout. So I would not doubt them when it comes to linemen. They usually get some good ones. So I think this would be a good pick for them. If a quarterback is here, that's how I would go personally, because I don't really believe in Derek Carr. I mean, he's just Derek Carr. I mean, he's about as mid as it comes. When he's on, he's okay, but when he's off, he's just too inconsistent for my liking. So I would go quarterback over lineman if someone there is worth it. But at this point in the draft, there is nothing wrong with getting another right tackle. Try to keep the ball on the ground with Kamara and sling it to Olave. So I'd be good with this. Yeah.
All right. Well, Kurt, you're at 15 for the Colts. What are you thinking? You got Anthony Richardson, who looked like he's about to be a star. I took a shot on him in fantasy, and he's seems to be the Michael Vick of this generation, getting hurt every time he touches the ball. And some freak things, too. Like, I mean, you can't help a concussion, but, dude, you got to learn how to protect yourself. Like, that's the first thing. If you're the Colts, you're like, look, we drafted you because you have a great arm and you can run, and you're a powerful guy running through the middle. You got to find a way to fucking protect yourself, or else your career is going to be really cut short. You ever heard of Andrew Luck? That's going to be you.
Yeah,
if you're
Richardson.
Not careful. We've already had enough of those. We don't want
last
anymore.
year, unfortunately, with a season-ending injury with his shoulder, an AC joint, if I'm not mistaken. He's gonna have to learn to slide or not take the hits that he needs to.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Colts are an interesting team. No.
Yep. And nothing to do with his offensive line, though, either, though. Like, that's the other thing. Like, so it's not about protecting him. It's just him doing it himself because he's running around.
I kind of look for them with the 15th pick. I'm probably going to take, honestly, we're going to roll with Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. We got a solid nickelback slot corner in Kenny Moore III. We got a decent offense with JT, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., and then obviously, fingers crossed, Richardson stays healthy. I'd like to see what he can do for a full season. And I think we need another corner here because let's look at our division. We got to deal with the Texans, Stroud, Diggs, Nico Collins. They're going to be slinging that thing. Trevor Lawrence, they're going to be slinging that thing. The Titans are going to be slinging that thing. So we're taking a corner here because we need to worry about some receivers we're playing against. So we're going corner for sure.
I like it. I got nothing to add to that because that's probably where I would have went. I've been talking about Quinyon now the last few picks, and they're falling to the Colts.
Yep. I was getting ready for them to come off the board, so it makes sense for the Colts. Looks like their only other possible need could be receivers. So in a situation like this, I could have seen Rum go to them, but I like Quinyon Mitchell. Super dope seeing a Toledo guy go this high in the draft, and especially at a corner, you don't really see those guys. Toledo corners getting love like that, so it's awesome. Love to see it. Cooper DeZean, good corner as well, but I like Quinyon Mitchell. And to the Colts that, have that nickel corner, like Kurt said, that need a boundary corner, Quinyon Mitchell could definitely be that guy for them.
Yeah, okay. And then, I'm ready to go. 16 Seahawks. I've had my pick in now, watching all these other players go off the board. And I'm going Jared Verse, edge rusher from Florida State. 260, 6'4", coming right at you.
Oh yeah. Especially
Florida
Mike
State.
McDonald. He loves his defense. Got to try to build a new defense in Seattle.
Yeah, I know they need a little bit of O-line and a linebacker, but, I mean, you can't go wrong with top talent edge rushing ever. They do need some safety help, but you know what helps the safeties and cornerbacks? A good rush. And if you have a good rush, then, that just helps. That just helps your backfield. So
yeah, I like this pick for them. They definitely need some defensive help. You lose Bobby Wagner, The only guy you got over there on defense is Tariq Woolen, the corner for them. With Mike McDonald coming in, he probably goes defense. And again, we got offenses we're playing against here with the Niners, very potent offense, the Rams, very potent offense. We need someone to get after those quarterbacks. So pass rush, can never have enough pass rush, and I think Jared Verse would be a big-time addition for them. And offensively, they're pretty strong, honestly. So I like Verse here for the Seahawks.
Yeah, Jared Verse, somebody I looked into a lot at Florida State. Really good player. Like we're saying, Mike McDonald, we know he's a defensive guy. Coming, a long-time defensive assistant, defensive coordinator, now getting his chance to run a football program, and his first draft. Would not be surprised if he tries to solidify that defense. And I liked Verse. I watched him a lot at Florida State. I feel like I watched a lot of their games, and Verse made plays a lot. So I definitely like him coming into the league year one.
All right. Number 17, Hunter, you get the Jacksonville Jaguars, man. Right.
Ooh.
Trevor Lawrence, man, needs a new coach. That's all he needs. If they just get themselves a new coach, they might be okay.
Sounds about right. Ooh.
But they also need some receiver help, and there's a lot of receivers.
Yeah, I'm looking at their needs right now, and I'm seeing a whole lot of interior offensive line needs for the Jaguars. And so I think we go with
what's that?
I don't know. Is the receiver need more?
They don't have anybody.
Who receivers in Jacksonville right now? I was going to say.
Kirk.
Well, here's the problem. They lost Calvin Ridley.
Right now?
All they have is the young kid. They had Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk,
Davis, who's
and now
a big player.
And now all they have
is
is Christian Kirk.
Nothing.
Like they got Gabe Davis, but let me tell you about Gabe Davis is not him.
Gabe Davis would be a 3 or 4. Especially with this guy just hanging out on our board right now, just not being taken. I think the Jags, they could definitely go offensive line, but I just thought Jackson Powers-Johnson are one of those guys is a little bit too early here at 17. So I'm going to just take Rome Odunze off the board and throw him in Jacksonville and give Trevor Lawrence another weapon to play with.
And I'm A-okay with that. That's going to help them out. They could go defense, but
I really thought
it's all about them touchdowns.
You don't think that's a big
I didn't see
need
Trevor. I didn't see Trevor get sacked a whole lot. That's the thing. I didn't see. I mean, he might have been a little bit under pressure, but every quarterback is. I didn't see him get hit a whole lot. I saw a lot of teams score on them, and they couldn't score for squat. So they had a great running back. I love their running back, but they're just the receivers were never. They really were never in sync with each other.
I'm never against BPA, so I have no problem with this pick. But the Jaguars were one of the best AFC teams at 6-2, and then Trevor Lawrence suffered an injury, and they pretty much faded down the second half. Defensively speaking, they definitely need some help in the secondary. Trevon Walker's been stepping up finally the past couple of years, and they just re-signed Josh Allen, their defensive end, who's low-key really underrated. He's really underrated. So I like their front 7 more than their back 7 or their back 4. I would probably go a corner, but I have no problem with if Rome Odunze is there, you just walk up to the podium, write that card down, and just we're taking him. So I like it. Oh.
Right. Well, Kurt, what do you like for the Bengals? Because you are on the clock at number 18, the Cincinnati Bengals, who I think this is actually where I think Barack Bowers would have went.
Yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's a decent fit for sure.
They're an interesting. This is an interesting spot here with who's on the board. A absolute mess of an offensive line, as always. And so we are going to roll with, at the 18th pick in the draft, we're going to go with a right tackle out of Alabama, J.C. Latham, right tackle. He was an absolute mauler there for Bama, a big part of their offense, and yeah, we gotta keep Joe Burrow healthy, man. I mean, the injuries are starting to pile up. Every time I'm looking, that boy's under pressure. We gotta block Myles Garrett. We gotta block the Ravens pass rush. We gotta block T.J. Watt, or try to at least. And look, we gotta get a tackle here. We gotta get a lineman if we're gonna have a chance. Otherwise, Shiesty ain't gonna last. So, for me, that's the smart pick.
All right. It's not bad. It's not a bad pick.
Yeah, no arguments
Because, yes,
there.
Joe Burrow.
I don't want to see
Yeah,
any other
Joe Burrow's always hurt.
crazy needs. Yeah, Joe Burrow. The only need
right.
they got in there in Cincinnati is keeping Joe Burrow upright.
For once, yes. Not every other year, but every year.
He does.
I think also Joe
Nice.
Burrow
He
kind of
has
does
a
it to
tendency
himself
to do
because
that.
I'm not going to lie. After watching him a few years, he holds on to the ball for too long. He likes to just hang on to the
100%.
ball.
Yep. He wants to. Yep. And then he's the one that he went on a podcast and denounced sacks. Like, not denounced them, but he was like, you got to think about when I'm taking these sacks, second down, third down and long when I'm trying to make plays. And he kind of like, you can't really blame a bad offensive line when
It
I'm
goes
holding on
hand
to
in
the
hand.
ball, trying to
goes
make
hand
a
in
play,
hand.
and then I'm getting sacked because I didn't make a play.
Yeah. So that leaves me with the Rams. The Rams. They just lost, their main staple on defense. And I think they reach a little bit. I think they probably like this. It's not really a reach. It's kind of where he's at. And I think they go and try to replace my man
Big boy. Big
with
brother.
Byron Murphy.
Nope.
Texas.
Big brother.
Interior defensive lineman. Yeah. Big 308, 6'1". Get through there.
Yeah, that's
Did some damage to Alabama. And they go and replace the big Aaron Donald, who is going to be hard to replace.
That's a good pickup. Definitely got to try to keep that youth movement going. Get younger on the defensive line with losing Aaron Donald. Finally, he was contemplating for a couple years. Finally hangs him up as the Ravens' future not looking so bright for the next couple years. Not looking like they're going to really be able to compete like he probably would have hoped. So he finally, after a long career, hangs him up.
Well, thanks to Puka Nacua, they don't need offense. I mean, had he not emerged, and he's going to be a cheap option due to his where he was not drafted, and he's going to be a cheap receiver that's going to be really good for them for a couple of years. And they got Cooper Kupp, who's a stud. The only thing they really need is a running back, but there's no running backs worth here taking. So you got to shore up that defense and be able to stop some of these teams, especially out there in the NFC West. You got the Packers, and now you got the talent with the Arizona Cardinals coming in, Marvin Harrison Jr. So you don't want to give Kyler Murray any time
the Rams definitely
to throw it to that man. So that's where I'm picking.
Yeah, the Rams definitely,
and
probably I would lean more towards defense.
Go ahead.
Kyron Williams, the running back, who was a draft pick a couple years ago, actually played really well last year. Stafford, not sure how much longer he's got, but we're not taking a quarterback here if we're trying to win now. So we got to go to defense. You lose Aaron Donald, obviously, who's a massive loss. He's been on his waning years. He's still been a really good player, but he hasn't been this. He's not the same Aaron Donald he was several years ago. It's unfortunate with D lineman, but yeah, we gotta add a defensive tackle to try to slow down the Niners' running game, and just, I mean, there's never a bad player really or a bad pick in the trenches, in my opinion. So I think Sean McVay probably goes defense here.
All right. We have a trade alert. Hunter has just announced that he is going to trade his pick to Kurt for the Dolphins pick. Because we have the Pittsburgh Steelers up at number 20.
Yeah, man.
And I'm sure Kurt wants to break that
so
down.
There's only a few players here that are going to be here for them. It's going to be a center or offensive tackle, and there's it could be Cooper DeJean, but I don't think they'll do that because they've already addressed the defense in the free agency period in the offseason. So for me, it's no question. It's either going to be Amarius Mims, the tackle out of Georgia, who's a right tackle. You'll put his former brother, Broderick Jones, a left tackle. Mims was a good player on the field when he played, though he only played 8 games. So maybe they take in his career.
That's 8 games. For
yeah,
how
he's had
long?
massive
The
injury
last season?
questions. Though when he's on the field, he's a phenomenal right tackle.
That's what I thought he was
But
really
this
injury.
is
Okay.
This is a bit of a shock. They could take him, but for me, they're going to take Graham Barton, tackle out of Duke. He has been shown to be a very versatile player, as he was a right tackle, but due to the injuries at center for Duke, he actually moved over to center for about 8 games. And so their thought process with that is going to be, we get a solid right tackle who could play center, depends on how this draft goes, because we don't have a center right now. We can't even start the play in offense. So it could be a center here. I'm not sure if they would reach on the center, because centers typically go second round, or if someone wants to take one late first round. They could trade down. I would personally trade down here and then grab a center. But if they stay appealed at 20, they would take probably Mims or Barton. But I lean Barton just because of the fact he's played both positions, so they would feel comfortable putting him at center. Depending on how the rest of the draft goes, then you have someone that fills, quote-unquote, 2 spots.
Sounds good to me.
I
don't see. I've been screaming for years about the Steelers taking offensive line. So go have at it, Pittsburgh. For once, you should have did it 3 years ago.
I'm taking Graham.
Should have did it.
Barton.
So the pick is in, and it's Amarius Mims for Kurt, right?
Yep.
Graham Martin. Oh, my bad. I was
Barton.
Graham Barton. All right. Which leaves Hunter at pick 21 with the Dolphins.
With the Dolphins here, we got a solid team. Not really a whole bunch of holes. They've been a playoff team. They're starting to ascend. I am going to give them Newton from Illinois' defensive line. I think this will help. He's a good player, ranked 11th, and if he fell to 21 to the Dolphins, I feel like this is just a BPA type player for him. Add to the defensive line, defensive front in Miami. So we're gonna go Newton
with them
D-line
losing,
Illinois.
All right, I don't even see him on my top list. What are we doing here? What's he under, Hunter? Is he under D-line or?
Yeah, with them
D-line,
losing Christian Wilkins, who was an underrated defensive player for them on the defensive line, to the Raiders, they definitely need someone to get after the Josh Allens and Aaron Rodgers of the world. So I think Miami could definitely work on that defense. Got some aging players over there, and offensively, they're fine offensively. Maybe a lineman, but nothing wrong with going some defense.
No, not at all. No, I'm not mad at it. I don't know. I know they probably could use offensive line too as well. So it's dude, offensive line and defensive line is just outrageously needed in this draft. With that said, scary, it leaves me with the Eagles pick at 22. This just happened naturally. And you know what's funny is before the show we were talking about scenarios where like how Kurt would get the Steelers pick and we would just do the trade. And I said it was actually going to happen with Hunter. Say Hunter got the Dolphins and Kurt had the Steelers, and that's exactly what happened. I might play the lottery tonight because Hunter goes and gets the Saints.
Might be a good idea.
that Steelers and Dolphins thing just happened, and now I end up with the Eagles. And if that's the case, we all know that
Things are
Lane
rolling your way
Johnson,
today.
yeah, Lane Johnson, it could be his last year. But the thing is that you got with all the tackles that have gone off the board already, there is too much talent at edge rusher, and we need edge rushing. I know Fletcher Cox is gone, but we did the interior. We got Jalen Carter. We got Jordan Davis. The interior of our line is shored up. But we don't have anybody besides Brandon Graham and the kid from the Jets that we just picked up. I forgot his name already. But we let go. Yeah, we let go of Hassan Reddick. We need a good defensive line rotation. And there's somebody here that I really like. And he's from a good school because, the school likes to put out defense. Dallas Turner, Alabama, 6'4", 252, a little on the light side, which is fine, which means he's probably got some speed. And he's nice and tall, lanky, so he's going to be able to bend good. And he's ranked 10th in this draft overall as a player, and the Eagles are picking him at 22. Give me Dallas Turner, Alabama, edge rusher.
What happened to the first-round pick out of Georgia last year? They took the defensive end that was lighter, but he fell due to the injury concerns. You remember who I'm talking about? I thought he was an edge rusher. Nolan Smith, yeah. Is he not?
Wasn't a defensive end, was a linebacker.
Playing him on the edge like that?
Yeah, Nolan, is it Nolan Smith or something like that? No. Yeah.
Really?
Well, we didn't put him in as edge rusher.
That's interesting.
No, he's at linebacker. No question
then. Dallas Turner.
That's where they put him.
And a lot of mocks goes like top 12. This would be the rich get richer. The Eagles love to go defensive line, and the defense definitely didn't play that well last year. It did not play that well last year. So I think this should be.
No, I would love a cornerback here, but we do have some cornerbacks because, you got the Tarion Arnold, Alabama, but, this Dallas is still ranked higher than Tarion and all that stuff. I honestly, we got a Georgia and Alabama cornerback. They're young, and they just need to be developed. They need NFL experience. So we need to just let them sit in there. They're SEC corners. I'm not afraid to let them play and figure it out. And like I said earlier, the better your defensive line is, the better your DBs are. And that's the bottom line. Let the young kids learn,
but
and let that D-line go feast.
I would have no problem since with this draft, a Cooper DeJean's there or a Tarion Arnold's there. I think one of those two would be just as good of a pick because we got to get younger with James Bradbury and Darius Slay. Those two are on borrowed time. So,
yeah. Yeah, Mel Bradbury is going to be gone. I think eventually he's going to be traded for something stupid. The problem with linebacker, I know we need linebacker too, but
Cooper,
Adrian Cooper is like the top-rated linebacker in this draft, and he's not projected. He's projected in like the 50s as top-ranked players. Oh, no. I know what corner you were talking about. I was just saying in general, like the Eagles also need linebacker very, very, very badly.
Yeah.
That was their second ranked position that they need. Cornerbacks like their third or something like that. And I wouldn't mind Cooper. Like I said, he's ranked in the 20s right now, and for value and the position in need, we need edge.
No shot.
And it's like I said, it's just can't go wrong with either one. All right. Hunter, you get both Vikings picks today. Who are you setting your man up? JJ McCarthy that they just drafted, number 11. You got the 23rd pick, Vikings. What are they setting my man up with?
23, I'm looking at these needs. It looks like they need interior offensive line. I don't like it. I'm about to sneeze. Hold on. I think it went away. Okay. I see defensive. Right, it's the worst. I see defensive back on their need list. Still Tarion Arnold and Cooper DeJean on the board. So at 23, I think we're going to try to bolster this defense with their other pick. I'm going to take Cooper DeJean and put him on the Minnesota Vikings. I don't looks like tight end. interior offensive line or defensive line, I'll take Cooper DeJean off the board here and put him on the Vikings.
This would be a perfect pick for them.
I got no problems with that.
Who they have to guard up against with the young skill position players there in Green Bay with Christian Watson, Dubes, and then Chicago, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and then Detroit with Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Jameson Williams. This would be ideal for them if it went this way. So I think Cooper DeJean, I know played a lot last year, or he's had some injury concerns, if I'm not mistaken. So that's kind of why some teams are iffy on him. He's very versatile. He could play a little bit of safety, he can play corner, but he was a big part of the reason why that Iowa defense has been the only saving grace of that team the past couple of seasons. So that'd be a pretty good pick for them here.
All right. Kurt, you're on the clock. Cowboys.
Yeah, Dallas.
Number 24 overall.
Did nothing.
They didn't do nothing in free
no
agency except for like
they're
Eric Kendricks or something like that.
CeeDee Lamb wants money, Dak wants money, Micah Parsons wants money. So, hey, this sometimes it's just how it goes. When I look at Dallas with the 24th pick,
we're not.
A couple of things jump to mind. I'm thinking offensive line because they lose longtime veteran Tarion Smith. And they also lost a center. Their starting center, Tyler Biadasz or something. So I definitely think a lineman is in play here. So we're probably going to go. I know they got Tyler Smith, who's a lineman there, who's pretty solid. I don't know. I think he plays maybe the left. I don't know where he's going to play, but I think they're going to go. For me, it's between Mims or Jackson Powers Johnson here. And I think they're going to go. I'm going Jackson Powers Johnson here, the bona fide center out of Oregon. Can't really go wrong with either lineman, but I'm going to go Jackson Powers Johnson just because Mims hasn't played, which sometimes it works that way. And when you take a guy like that, it's risky, but the talent's there. So I think we're going to just go with Jackson Powers Johnson. Yeah,
got no issues there. Hunter, you got any issues? Or you want to comment on it? I mean, it's your second team. It's your closet team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is where you got to go. You got to go offensive line somewhere. I don't like Mims with the injury concerns, and he's the next best tackle. Like Kurt said, I think center only makes sense when you really need it. And in the back end of the first round, like the Cowboys are, they couldn't really make any moves, and they kind of got to try to fill some of those holes with the draft. So taking a real center to try to come in and maybe even play week one makes a lot of sense here, back into the first round.
All right, that leaves me with the number 25 pick, which is the Green Bay Packers. They took out the Cowboys in the playoffs this year, and with not a whole lot of defensive help. And I think this is where they go, and I think we're having a little bit of a run on cornerbacks the last few picks, the last 5 picks at least. There's been a few go off. So I think the Packers go and jump on Tarion Arnold from Alabama. Cornerback, 6 foot, 196. You can probably put him in the slot, or you can put him on the edge. It depends on how quick his hips are and stuff like that. But SEC corner, Alabama corner, you usually can't go wrong with those type of guys. So, Tarion Arnold for the Green Bay Packers.
Jared Alexander.
I don't hate that. Good move. Solid. Get them DBs in there. Can't really recall any big name defensive backs. Yeah, they need. I was just saying. I knew they had one. I know they needed another one. So pairing Arnold up with somebody like Jair that they can learn from each other and play together to lock down both those boundaries. I like that a lot for them.
Well, they did.
They got a good defensive line. Good.
They did grab Nixon and McKinney, safety. They did grab them too, but you always want to draft somebody to homegrown. You know what I mean? You don't want to go free agency all the time with those type of players. Plus with the value,
Yeah.
But Hunter,
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, Buccaneers. They gave Baker. Did they give Baker his money? They did give Baker his money, didn't they? Yeah.
Yep.
So
Devin
they
White.
need to protect Baker, or they need some defense because they lost cornerback Carlton Davis. They lost Shaq Barrett, and they lost Devin White.
Oh man,
Yeah, this is an interesting
they have
spot.
a lot of needs as well. Whew, I don't even know. I'm gonna look at linebacker. Oh, I like Peyton Wilson's game a lot, and at 26, I'm looking at
Levante David's
maybe a
still
Nate Wiggins
he's
or
an
a
older
Kool-Aid
player.
McKinstry.
He's starter.
They
He's a
lost-
solid starter.
They have someone in the middle right now. Tampa Bay. So maybe they're not going there. They did lose Carlton Davis. You know what? I'm going to give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Nate Wiggins. I think they need a cornerback. They need to add a little bit of speed on that defense. And Peyton Wilson could be the pick here, trying to add down the middle. I really like his game. But for this, I think another team that has a whole lot of holes, let's go with Nate Wiggins.
Yeah,
to
Wiggins
Tampa Bay.
is
Oh,
very lengthy
all right.
corner.
I'm not
though.
mad
He's a
at
little
it.
light, so they're kind of questioning his tackling ability at the
Kurt's
second
got
level.
the Cardinals,
but
the second pick.
I know his
Go ahead,
talent
Wick.
isn't
Go ahead
as
on
good
Wiggins.
as
I
Sauce
was just-
Gardner, but his length is very similar. So I think Wiggins will be pretty good, honestly. And Tampa Bay,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to guard Olave, and then Atlanta with London and Pitts, whoever. Kirk Cousins is gonna be slinging it, so I could see that. I mean, your division foes got to play part in this kind of pick, especially with 26. It's a late round pick, so I think this would be a good pick for them. All right.
All right. Kurt, you got like I was just about to say, the Cardinals' second pick in this draft. So they went and took Marvin Harrison.
You know,
Some offensive explosion there. Who are they going with their second pick in this first round?
Cardinals here. This is interesting. You know, I have no problem taking a player like Amarius Mims here, and that's probably where I'm going to go because this could potentially be like a top 12 player when he plays. So the risk is worth it because this is a very late round selection. And just kind of with the players on the board, I'm not hating on. I'm not a fan of the guys here, but I think for me, I like Mims more than any of the guys here. And when you think about, we just brought in Marvin Harrison Jr. We got Kyler Murray. We got a decent offense, but we gotta protect Kyler Murray against the pass rushes of the San Frans of the world. You know, Seattle gets a guy, you gotta worry about him. And then you got the Rams as well. So I think we're gonna go with Amarius Mims here, as I've seen him go as high as like 10 in drafts. So I think the Cardinals would take him here.
All right. You made a very, very solid point. So I'm cool with it. Marius Mims.
Yes. Good pick. Solid. Probably worth the first rounder. Only playing 8 games. Scared to shit. I can only imagine teams looking at him like that. Only playing 8 games. That's such a small sample size. But you know he's good. But it's like, man, that is a rough one if you mess that one up.
Yeah, but nobody's going to remember it because they took Marvin Harrison. Yeah, with their first round. So that's a good spot to take them if you're going to take them first round. All right, so Bills. Bills don't have, a lot going for them on offense. And Josh Allen has a really big arm, probably one of the biggest arm aside from Pat Mahomes in the league. I would even say maybe arm strength-wise, Josh Allen might even beat him. So with nobody to throw to, and with that big arm, for the Bills pick at number 28, I'm going Mr. 421 Xavier Worthy. Texas. Wide receiver.
Wow. See, I was thinking a receiver there too, and you would reach down the board, but I was thinking somebody completely different.
That speed, man, that big arm. If he knows how to track a ball, that speed, there would be all Josh Allen has to do is chuck it up when he's in danger.
Could you imagine if JJ would have had him to throw to?
Route.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine what that offense would have been like with Xavier Worthy catching footballs from JJ? Oh man.
Now I know there's I know Mitchell is higher ranked in this draft, but I'm going off of Josh Allen's big arm and Worthy's speed. And that's what I'm looking at here. So
the quarterback,
Xavier Worthy.
That's another thing. Like, just because one guy's better doesn't mean he's going to fit better with said other player.
Right.
So, and a lot of times it's crazy is like, we'll see, especially with receivers, we'll see receivers that are higher quarterback ranked go lower than the players that are lower, like ranked lower, because a team likes the lower ranked player better because they might schematically fit better. So I could see it. There's no question they got to go receiver. There is no question though. They have to go receiver. So I can see it. I like it.
Yep, and you're taking a flyer either way. I mean, you're dipping down in like the fifth, sixth, seventh receiver, so you're kind of not taking a flyer necessarily, but you're this low when you're this low in the draft.
Sure-handed.
Yeah. I mean, if you're drafting 28 or lower, I mean, you're a successful team anyway, and you just need the help. And so I think Worthy helps. And with that said, number 29 Lions, they're down here because they're good. Hunter, what help did they grab here at 29?
This one's pretty easy for me. Their needs are interior offensive line, edge defender, or cornerback. I think they sit at 29 overall because, like you said, they're getting a good football team together. They're putting the pieces in place to try to win these meaningful games in the NFC. And I think they go and add a really good corner from Bama, Kool-Aid McKinstry. It's a great pick for them. I think they need another corner to try to add to that defense. And Kool-Aid kind of falls right into the lap as one of the leftover DBs, but certainly not a bad one, and certainly one that I think is worth the back end of the first round, especially for a team, like we said, with these guys in the back of the first round. We know they're good teams. They just kind of need to add some pieces in some different places. And I think Kool-Aid could fit in really well with that Detroit Lions defense.
Because Detroit's
like
offensive... No. Maybe they lost someone the offensive line was too bad.
I didn't think their offensive line was too bad.
has one of the best lines in the league, man. They could run it, they could pass it. Jared Goff was never quaking back there, and Gibbs and Montgomery had running lanes. So I don't see offensive line as a need for them. That's who I would have gone with, is Kool-Aid McKinstry. Like, when I saw Detroit, the only flaws I saw in Detroit's game last year was defensively, they got sliced through the air. They got sliced. They added Brian Branch, who was a good safety for them, but cornerback-wise, they really don't have anybody, and so this would be a good pick for them. Like I mentioned, 65. Yeah. C.J. Garner-Johnson, yeah. And like I mentioned 65 times, the receivers in that division,
and they lost
C.J.
back there.
I think DB is really one of the only things that is glaring on Detroit's team.
Yep. Now, what's funny, Kurt, is that you've had to draft not only for your team, but the rivals as well. You had to hit up the Bengals pick, and now you sit here at number 30 with the Ravens pick.
That's just funny. That's very coincidental.
What is your team doing?
Obviously, being familiar with these two, all of them. Baltimore here. Man, talk about a team that never really misses on draft picks. I'd be very curious. I'm curious to see who they would take here. I was going to take Kool-Aid with the Ravens. So now I'm kind of in a bind here at 30. The Ravens lost a couple of edge defenders and Jadeveon Clowney. They also lost another guy. They lost Patrick Queen. They lost a couple of starting linemen. So they've lost some players, but they'll still be solid again. Lose OBJ. I know they drafted receivers, but for me, if I'm looking at the board here, I'm probably going to go Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas. For me, he's the best player on the board at this point. You got Zay Flowers, you got Mark Andrews, and you got Rashad Bateman. I know they're a run-first offense. Obviously, with Derrick Henry and Lamar, they're going to run first, but still need to throw the ball. So I think Adonai Mitchell here makes sense to me.
Yeah, they would know what they're doing you probably know that team as well as your own team because, like I said, you watch them play and how they draft and all that good stuff. So I'm not going to challenge you on that one.
Absolutely not. I like that pick. They need a receiver. Got to just get some sure-handed receivers in Baltimore. They haven't had anybody really like that since they tried to bring in Odell, and you saw how that worked. So they really need some sure-handed receivers if they're going to see or try to get all the potential they can out of Lamar Jackson. So I definitely think somebody like Mitchell, sure-handed, good big body receiver, would be really good for Baltimore.
Now, number 31, the 49ers. They lost a lot of defensive pieces, but they also went into free agency and grabbed a few defensive pieces that could help. So I don't think they're going to go defense here. What they're going to do is they're going to help their investment, and their investment was Christian McCaffrey. And there's honestly, there's a top 20 offensive pick here, and it is J.C. Latham.
I took him at 18 with the Bengals.
J.C. Latham good, right?
No,
or did you guys grab him?
I thought we took him somewhere. Yep, I thought. I'm almost positive he came off the board.
You did take him at 18. I didn't cross him off. Oh, well, then you know what? That's fine. We're going to go over to interior offensive linemen then. Sorry, we're getting far in the draft, and we're almost about done. And
Yep.
I am probably going Zach Frazier then, West Virginia.
Okay. Fair.
6'3". They're
see this their left tackle.
Yeah, boost the offensive line.
Former
they got Tyron Smith,
the Redskins.
Right? Who's that left tackle that they got over there? What's his name? I can't freaking think of his name. There's a Cowboy.
Trent Williams.
Are you Williams. Sure? I thought he was a Cowboy.
Older. Big time. Definitely older.
Either way, he's a really good. Yeah, Trent Williams. I know he was there. Trent Williams was there with Tyron Smith. Yeah, he's older.
Yeah, I like Zach.
But you still want some help. You want to do that. So I'm going Zach Frazier, West Virginia.
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes somewhere here late in the first round for a team.
For sure. Help out Christian McCaffrey.
Well, and the thing with centers. Yeah, and the thing with centers is you can move them to guard easy. I can't tell you how many centers the Eagles drafted and moved them to guard. So
they get translated just because their versatility. So it makes sense. I mean, at 31, I'm not really sure if you're looking for a specific spot or like a position of need, but nothing wrong taking a lineman for the Niners. Really, pretty much are just set. I mean, there's not really a whole lot there. So. Yep.
No, but let's be honest. Chris Jones ate that interior up.
It's in the trenches, man. Simple
and if you're going to be competing with the Chiefs,
no problem with that one.
All right, Hunter. Chiefs. There's one thing that the Chiefs need big time.
Yeah.
Is there any doubts about it?
With the
what do we think of the receiver?
I was just going to mention with the receiver
that's the biggest thing that they need. But is it worth it? I think because
they added Marquise Brown.
Is it worth
the lad from Georgia.
I mean, Mahomes would probably get the best out of him, but
I forgot about that too.
Let's see what
so
Hunter's
he might be
thinking.
out.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking receiver. I was kind of going to pull Keon Coleman off the board here because I think he could be the biggest upside guy, but I think he'll fall just a couple picks in the second round. For me, this is another one of those kind of like the Bills pick where you take somebody more for a scheme fit. I think the Chiefs kind of got a stereotypical who they like a receiver, and I think Troy Franklin from Oregon. I think he fits that mold the best. I think he's a fast, sure-handed receiver. I really like this game from Oregon in that offense with Bo Nix. I think he is good enough to add some pop and some extra finesse to the Chiefs offense that is ever, with Patrick Mahomes and always ever creative. I think Troy Franklin could be a good guy there, but I think any of these receivers, I've seen Roman Wilson get mocked there. I've seen Ladd. I've seen Keon. So I think you got to go receiver. You got a pretty good crop to pull from in the back end of the first round, and I'll give him Troy Franklin, but I wouldn't be surprised if any of those 3 or 4 receivers go there.
Who you like more, who you think's going to fit better with your offense,
cool with it.
The offense you run.
Makes
with
sense
Mahomes.
to me.
Troy Franklin, 6'3", big play, vertical weapon, and that's exactly what they need. With questions with Rashee Rice, Marquise Brown's a smaller, way smaller receiver, and then obviously with Kelsey, but kind of dwindling. But he came out when he needed to last year, but no question, it's got to be a receiver. It has to be. Yeah. So I think that's a good pick for sure.
Yeah, he's clutch. Clutch moments for him. All right, guys, that concludes the ShekelUp Podcast mock draft here. That's what we think. We picked based on who was left. Of course, you're always welcome to check our socials for our individual mock drafts if the boys want to post theirs. We're cool with it. See who's coming out and see who they really think their every pick is for them. So we appreciate everyone listening. Stay tuned for an actual episode. This was our draft special, so we will be bringing you regular content about the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs and stuff like that here coming soon. So stay tuned for that. And remember, everyone, do not bet your mortgage.